Sunday, August 22nd, 1971, Ira Tunoff Enterprises, in association with Showbiz Incorporated, present Can-Am Road Racing. Today's race comes to you live from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Good afternoon. This is Jeff Scott speaking to you live from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, the site of today's Canadian-American Challenge Cup race for the J-Wax Trophy. Needless to say, we've got magnificent weather here. It rained rather heavily last night. Fortunately, it's clear today. We have low humidity and a capacity crowd. With us is our expert from England, Tony Moy, who's got some very unusual comments voiced by the drivers last night about this course. Tony?
Yes, there's a certain amount of discontent here before the start of today's race. This discontent concerns Team McLaren and the Carl Haas entered Lola for Jackie Stewart. The reason for their unhappiness is the nature of the course. Since the last Can-Am race here, it appears that it's deteriorated. It's deteriorated in terms of the fact that the course has become more bumpy. They don't think it's suitable for Can-Am cars. They're worried about the ability of the suspension to withstand the pummeling that it's going to take. There was even a suggestion that the duration of the race might be reduced, but that was overruled. It's going to be the full 80 laps. We shall have to wait and see whether or not the cars are able to stand that distance.
Thank you, Tony. With me on my left is Alan Sloan, the man who's going to be bringing you all the expertise in the pits. Alan, what's the story?
Thank you, Jeff. We'll be joining Jeff and Tony in just a moment with the action live in progress. But as Tony mentioned, the action in the pits today is going to be vitally important. No driver wants to make a pit stop, but because of the condition of the track, there will be many pit stops, and we'll be right here to cover them for you. Now, live in progress, let's join Jeff and Tony for the race.
And there is a live picture from Mid-Ohio where we're already into the sixth lap of what is already a very dramatic motor race. The reason for the drama is that we had a spin-off on turn one, which has already set the pattern for this race. More about that in a moment. Because this race is expected to last rather more than 2 hours, and we appreciate that you want to see the finish, we have had to miss the start. But in a moment or two's time, we, by means of a split screen, will show you the start, and we'll show you that dramatic first turn incident. But there in your picture now is the race leader, number 7, Peter Revson. And the big news is that Denny Hulme was the man who spun on turn 1, and that Denny Hulme, the grand old man of Can-Am, is out of this Mid-Ohio race. So there we are. Peter Revson, the leader of the last 2 races, is already in the lead. In second place is number 1, the world champion-elect Jackie Stewart. In third place is number 20, Joe Seifert. In fourth place is number 29, Vic Elford. In fifth place, number 48, Herbert Muller. And in sixth place, number 55, McCaig. So those are the first 6 places of this already dramatic race. As I say, just a moment's time, we shall, by means of the split screen technique, give you those dramatic opening moments when on that turn 1, 4 or 5 cars were involved. Amongst them, Denny Hulme, we told you about, number 88, the young Japanese Hiroshi Katsato, number 11, Lothar Motschenbacher, and number 54, Tony Adamovitz. But they are now back in the race. It's Denny Hulme who's out of this Can-Am.
Tony, I think this is a testimony to the comments that were made by the drivers before the race, that this course being so tight and so narrow, 15 turns, that it might present a problem. And as often occurs in a first lap, this is the most critical, the first and second laps, when the cars are deeply bunched up. And as you said, Tony, we're going to be able to show them this dramatic first lap in which Denny Hulme was eliminated and 3 or 4 other cars collided.
Yes, Jeff, that is indeed fact, and perhaps we should say what this drama was, because this race certainly had its share of pre-start drama. Last night there was a move from the leading teams, and that means Team McLaren and Jackie Stewart, as we've already said in opening remarks, to have the length of the race reduced. And there you can see, now on the picture, you can see Denny Hulme's McLaren parked against the barrier just outside turn 1. This is our camera 2 now. Following the race leader, Peter Revson, through the twists and turns up to the keyhole, and there he goes around this very tight keyhole and down the back straight. But more of this drama. Team McLaren and the Carl Haas entered Lola suggested that the course was in such bad condition for Can-Am cars and had deteriorated so much since they raced here last year that the course was really no longer suitable for these cars, or put it the other way, that the cars were no longer really designed for the course. And they therefore suggested that the duration of the race should be cut from its 80 laps to 50. Now the stewards of the meeting consulted with the number of leading drivers, and as a result of this, they decided that it should run the full distance. And coming up very shortly is our split screen showing you the opening lap and the drama that we had.
Incidentally, Tony, the speed so far, the fastest trap speed, has been turned in the main straight by Peter Revson, 166.667 miles an hour. And of course, the second place car with Jackie Stewart turned 164.3. And the STP Porsche turned 155.844.
And here indeed is the split screen. Now watch this picture. They're just coming out of the pace lap, and it's all turn one that it happens. The tape at the top, this is what we saw when the race started, and the live down below, and it's into turn one. Wait for our camera 2 to pick it all up. Look at the cars going wide. Denny Hulme, Hiroshi Kazato, Tony Adamovitz, Lothar Moschenbacher. Look at the melee there, all over the track. That's out of the first turn, and out of that, as we have told you, it was Peter Revson and Jackie Stewart who came out of it. And as that happens, and we see that recorded incident, we've got information passed up to us that Denny Hulme's car broke his drive shaft going into turn one, and he was left without any brakes as a result of this, because the rear disc brakes are inboard. The car spun, he was hit by another car. Denny Hulme was unhurt, but we do know that the Gulf McLaren is very badly damaged indeed. So a reminder once again that at the top of your screen, you've got the taped opening laps, and at the bottom of the screen, you've got lap 9 of this Mid-Ohio Can-Am, live as it happens.
Denny Hulme has had his share of troubles too, Tony, because he had to have his knee drained the day before the race. He had a very stiff knee, and of course his hands are still giving him trouble from the burns he got in Indianapolis, so it's a tough break for him.
Yes, Jeff, I understand that knee was as a result of a rugger injury which he had 15 years ago at school, and it's never bothered him since until he came over here for this Mid-Ohio race. I had a quick word with him this morning, and I said, Denny, is it troubling you? But he said no, and he anticipated being able to go the whole distance. We are going to show you the starting grid as it happened. There was in pole position Denny Hulme. This is coming over the live picture, remember now. In second was Peter Revson, the star of McLaren's this year. Third, Jackie Stewart in the Lola, the world champion-elect. Fourth, Joe Seifert. Fifth, Lothar Moschenbacher. Sixth, Dave Causey. Seventh, Tony Adamovitz. Eighth, Hiroshi Kazato. 9, Chuck Parsons. 10, Bob Brown. 11, Herbert Muller, the Swiss. 12, Milt Minter. 13, Dick Durant. 14, Roger McCabe, the successful Canadian. 15, Gordon Dewar. 16, Vic Elford. 17, Tom Dutton. 18, Bob Nagel. 19, Danny Hopkins. 20, George Shovel. 21, Jim Butcher. 22, Bob Kemple. 23, Stanley Zarkovitz. And 24, Jerry Hodges. And I understand we've got action in the pits. Alan Sloan, what is it?
Thank you very much, Tony. We cannot get Denny Hulme. Denny Hulme is a very, very unhappy young man. But we do have the part of his car, when you talk about thousands and thousands of dollars involved in Can-Am racing, this is the broken drive shaft that cost Denny Hulme the race. Right there in the first lap, and that's the way it looks. We're going to try to get hold of Denny a little bit later on. He doesn't want to talk to anybody right now, and I can't say that I blame him. But hopefully a little bit later on, when he cools down, we'll be back here in the pits with Denny Hulme and other drivers. Now let's get back to the action, and Tony.
What? As we saw, Denny had the pole, and there is his teammate, Peter Revson, the winner of the last 2 Can-Ams, whilst in the midst of Alan Sloan showing us that drive shaft. We once again, there it is again, the car parked against the guardrails, and there is the other Team McLaren car with the entire responsibility for this Mid-Ohio race, now on the metaphorically broad shoulders of Peter Revson. Nobody could say that they were particularly broad, but they're certainly broad in upholding the responsibility of giving McLaren a win here.
Peter's going to have his troubles right now. As you can see, he's coming up on the slower cars, and it's very difficult to pass on this track. It's still quite narrow, and this may give Jackie Stewart the advantage he's looking for.
Already Revson in amongst the people down the back of the field, whom he's lapping, and there's the spin in slow-mo. That's number 79 in the camera there. That's Tom Dutton we saw.
As Yes, he pitted to have his panel straightened out. He seems to be all right now, though.
The race leader, Peter Revson.
In some respects, this is a break for Peter because, of course, he's leading in points. He's won the last 2 races, and this might give him the advantage again, Tony.
Well, he's certainly got an advantage. And there's Peter Revson in the camera now. Second place man is number 1, Jackie Stewart, of course. Third place, number 20, Joe Seifert in the Porsche.
Seifert has, to some people's thinking, a possible slight advantage, even though he has a smaller engine.
Second place man, Jackie Stewart, coming through the chicane up to the keyhole. Jackie Stewart, we started to tell you about the unhappiness before this race. Jackie Stewart, and we all know what a great protagonist for safety he is and a spokesman for the Grand Prix Drivers Association. Jackie Stewart was upset. I think it's fair to say he did not want to race. Last night he was persuaded to race by his team, technicians, the entrants, and this morning he held a press conference to say that he didn't really think that certain factors about this Mid-Ohio course were safe enough. During the night, they'd done a lot of work. They had the bulldozers in, they'd taken down a number of trees, and Jackie was satisfied sufficiently to start this race. But it was unquestionably an unhappy Jackie Stewart who kicked off here this afternoon.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word. Again live here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and we remind you again that Peter Revson is currently leading with an average speed of 95.251 miles an hour. At the moment, our cameras are focusing on Lothar Mochenbacher, one of the strongest, and in fact the strongest American competitor outside of Peter Revson. Lothar is standing third now in points. So far, he's won $31,750. He has 32 points in the standings. He's 33 years old. He's been in all 43 races since 1966. Came over here to the United States from Germany at the age of 19. He was originally a Mercedes-Benz mechanic. He had, unfortunately, a DNF. He didn't finish at Watkins Glen. And he had a rather disastrous accident. He skidded through a metal fence. Fortunately, he was uninjured. He won the U.S. Road Racing Championship, incidentally, which preceded the Can-Am Series, right here at Mid-Ohio 3 years ago. A very steady driver, very consistent, and we hope he'll continue to fare well in this series. Tony?
He's certainly doing well today because he was involved in that first lap drama on turn 1, as a result of which at the completion of the first lap he was down in 17th place. And number 11, the car in camera now, is already up to 6th place. So Lothar Mochenbacher from California, 32 years old, has really been carving through the field.
I think that Porsche fans will be particularly pleased with the way that Joe Siffert's running. Steadily in third place. He's giving away 2 to 3 liters to these bigger engine cars. He's only got a 5-liter Porsche, whereas the larger cars with the Chevy engines are running at 7 and 8 liters. He does have about a 100-pound weight advantage, which helps him considerably in this tight course, which he told us would help him a great deal. Again, you're seeing some very tight passing here in these tight corners. It's a very difficult job. Mochenbacher doing a fine job. He's being pushed rather heavily.
Yes, one of the other cars there, the back one of those now, number 54, that's Tony Adamovitz in the Jeremy McLaren. Now, he was also involved in that first lap drama, no doubt through no fault of his own, and he's climbed back up to 7th place now. It's just tucked in there behind Mochenbacher, who's 6th, and number 48, Muller in the Ferrari is 5th. Those 3 are having a good dice. Let's just have a look at the order now as we go into the 17th lap. Peter Revson there already in his 17th lap. In first place, number 7, Peter Revson there in the lead. Second is number 1, Stewart. Third, number 20, Siffert. Fourth, number 29, Elford. Fifth, number 48, Muller. Sixth, number 11, Mochenbacher. Seventh, number 54, Tony Adamovitz. In 8th place is number 9, Chuck Parsons. In 10th place is number 0, Milt Minter in the Porsche. Or in 9th place, and in 10th place is number 55, Roger McCaig in the McLaren. So those are the first 10 at the completion of 17 laps, and there is the leader, Peter Revson. Jeff, what a fantastic year this is proving for Peter Revson.
Really marvelous, Tony, because he has certainly deserved finally to get the car that he has, this tremendously prepared McLaren, and he's showing that he can drive and run with the rest of them. He was a little concerned yesterday in practice. He thought that Jackie Stewart was pulling him down the straight, so he decided to change gears. They were running with a bigger engine, the 510 cubic inch engine, but now they went down to the smaller size. I think it's a 494, and he's certainly showing his mettle beautifully here, Tony.
Yes, it's interesting that you should mention this engine, Jeff, because this, of course, well, his hands got in the air. Peter Revson, I don't think was very happy there. No, he wasn't. Did you see him wave his fist? And the man he was lapping obviously got the message, saw Peter waving his fist, and decided that he would let him through, and I don't blame him. You don't hold up Peter Revson.
No, that's right, or Jackie Stewart either, or Denny Hull.
Now, I was just about to mention Revson's engine. This is, of course, one of the Reynolds engines, and when I say one of the Reynolds engine, it's the all-aluminium engine, the interesting feature of it being that it's sleeveless. Peter's used this for his last 2 wins at Road Atlanta and at Watkins Glen. And today was the first race that Denny Hulme, too, was also going to compete with the Reynolds aluminium engine.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word. Can-Am Racing live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. And as we mentioned, of course, we've got Peter Revson out in front and Jackie Stewart second, Tony.
Yes, and in the picture there now, we've got Joe Seifert, number 20. Joe Seifert, number 20, and we understand that something's hanging loose off the car. This is a message that's been passed to us. Let's have a very close look as he goes round the keyhole there. I can't see anything loose. Servers round the course tell us that Joe Seifert, who's in 3rd place, the ball is not well with that Porsche.
It's too bad if Seifert is having difficulties with the panels because, of course, this is his first full year of Can-Am competition. He's the man who won the Austrian Grand Prix just about a week ago, and he's done exceptionally well. Of course, driving the long-distance races, he placed second in a Porsche in 1970. Watkins Glen, he did drive the Can-Am, but this was part of the World Manufacturers Championship race. He's won Sebring, of course, Spa, Targa Florio, and has driven Grand Prix Marches and STP car, that is, and also the Lotus and BRM in 1970. So, of course, he's running pretty well. Right now, let's get down to Alan in the pits.
We have a disappointed Bob Nagel here, and we're not even sure what lap it was where it happened, but Bob, tell us what happened.
Well, the engine just came unglued. I was coming down to pit straight, and all of a sudden everything let go. I had no more power. In fact, I didn't even have brakes. I coasted off the race course and parked it out behind the guardrail to protect the car from someone else hitting it. And when I pushed the brake pedal to stop, it was absolutely solid. So I may have lost a half shaft, which tore the engine apart.
We're going to try to get hold of that part a little bit later on, Bob. Where from here? Is it too soon to tell?
No, we'll be at Road America next weekend. We have another engine in the truck, and it'll go in, and another gearbox, and we'll be on our way.
Thank you very much, Bob. We'll be looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, and now let's get back to the live action, and Tony.
Well, that was Bob Nagel from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, an executive jet pilot, had a lot of racing experience, and bad luck to him today.
Tony, incidentally, that team has been involved with several other operations. We've got a car off course, so we're not quite sure. We just saw it on screen. We're trying to identify it for you later.
And the car off the course was number 47, Gordon Dewar, in his March, the only March in the race. Gordon Dewar from Canada is the importer for March cars there. March, of course, also the Grand Prix manufacturers, which STP Granatelli sponsors. But Gordon Dewar, it looks as if his race for March is run there. The gap that we had between leader Revson and second place man Stewart is 4.6 seconds, and to our eye it appears that Stewart might be closing it a little bit. Here is Peter Revson coming on the outside of those two cars, and in fact quite the contrary has happened because it's opened up. It's now opened up to 6.2 seconds. We observed when we did our telecast from Watkins Glen that when they're passing people further down the field and lapping them, often one competitor can get held up. It can be to his advantage one lap and to his disadvantage the next lap. So it would seem that Peter Revson has managed to open the gap up again to something in excess of 6 seconds. And there he is going around the keyhole, in now to the fastest section of the course.
Tony, is rather obvious to us, and I think our viewers can see the bumpiness of this track.
And that's number 88, Hiroshi Kasato there, the young 22-year-old Japanese fellow. He's the youngest man in the race, and number 51 by the side of him is Dave Cause's Lola. Why he stopped, we don't know. Hiroshi Kasato has been having a pretty good time in Can-Am. He's a little slight fellow. The heat overcame him at Road Atlanta. He was in 11th place before this stop. He's looking under the front of the car. I wonder if it's suspension. This is what we said earlier, that this bumpy Mid-Ohio was expected to take a big tone of the Lola. We've lost no less than 4 cars at that point so far. There's the leader, round the keyhole, into the fastest section of the course. Speeds down here are something like 175 miles an hour, maybe 180 miles an hour. And we're lapping the Mid-Ohio course at round about 100.
This course really puts a tremendous test, Tony, of course, on brakes and transmissions and naturally drive shafts, because you have to do such tremendous braking and gearing to get down to these slow corners, which are very, very tight. And the bumpiness in the course will be obvious to our viewers as they go around. Our 20-lap leaders at this point: Peter Revson, Jackie Stewart, Joe Sifford, Vic Elford, and the Buehler Ferrari. First 5, remember, these are unofficial at the moment. These are not the final official standings. Now we'll get down to the pits, and we've got Bob Brown.
That we have, Jeff. Bob, tell us what happened. Well, Al, to the best of my knowledge, it all started on the very first turn of the first lap. All of us went in there pretty close, bunched up, and from what I could see, it appeared that Denny Holm just flat lost it. And Dave Causey made contact with him, and several of us had to go off the road to avoid this accident, mainly Kazati, the Japanese driver, and myself. And then after that, I had to make a pit stop because in going off the road, we had grass and dirt and whatnot in our grill, which caused our engine. Caused you at that point notice your engine overheating? Yeah, I did. Right on by the end of the first lap. So I think I came in on the 3rd lap because there's no sense in wrecking an engine. And we inspected the car at that time. Everything looked okay. They cleaned the grill out, and I went back out.
One quick question: will you be ready for next week?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will.
All right, we'll be looking. Thank you very much, Bob.
Okay, Al.
Better luck next week. All right, let's get back to the live action and Tony.
Well, that's a very interesting situation. What Bob Brown didn't tell us there, that the McLaren that he was driving was the Chris Kraft McLaren that won at the Norris Ring in Germany, and that car came into the country the very day that your president announced the 10% import duty. Now, Bob Brown's car came in before the duty was announced, but when he went to collect it on the Monday morning, the Customs and Excise people said, 10% please, Mr. Brown, and we understand that he's pretty unhappy about that, and we don't blame him.
That must have hurt him a little bit, Tony, because he's a Chevrolet dealer. They're the ones that are taking a beating on these duties at the moment, and also, of course, the price freeze that is on American cars. So that's a tough break. We hope he'll be back for next weekend.
I'd said earlier that we were expecting an average speed here of something like 100 miles an hour. In fact, it's quite a lot down on that. We're just going to have a look. There's Jackie Stewart coming through in 2nd place, and he's now 8 seconds behind Revson, the leader, and the time at 20 laps was 95, or the average speed, I should say, and there's somebody going off. Somebody else going off. It's number 41 that's spinning off there. That's Jim Butcher and his Lola. And which way is he going around the course? Yes, he's got it back on the island the right way. Number 41, Jim Butcher and his Lola.
On some of those...
It's getting quite like a used car parking lot down there. They're all lined up side by side.
You know, another thing on some of those corners, Tony, are those little cement curves which give the drivers some fits. As you can see some of them here in your picture, they're painted yellow or orange. And it makes it a little difficult because if they hit those things, it can really snap up a suspension.
Every time I try to give these average speeds, we have somebody spin off. I'll try again, and I'm sure somebody will spin. Revson's average speed at the end of 20 laps was 95.38 miles per hour, so that's a little bit slower than we expected. In 2nd position at that time, Stewart was 4.7 seconds behind, although we've observed more recently that the gap is now slightly in excess of 8 seconds. And 46 seconds behind in 3rd place was number 20, Sifford.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word. Back here live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Can-Am 1971. Peter Revson in the lead. Jackie Stewart 2nd. Joe Sifford 3rd. Tony?
There is Jackie Stewart in the Lola. Earlier on, I spoke to Carl Haas, who's the entrant of the Jackie Stewart Lola, and we had alongside us a Chevrolet Vega, and we had a look at the Chevrolet Vega and also Jackie Stewart's Lola side by side, and had a look at some of the differences between the two cars. There is Jackie Stewart in the Lola. We shall be showing you those differences in a moment or two. Between the kind of sedan that you probably drive for your everyday motoring and Jackie Stewart's Lola T260. On my left is a 1972 Chevrolet Vega. Straight from the showroom, on my right, the Lola T260. The Vega, 170 inches overall length, and it tops the scales at just over 2,200 pounds. The 140 cubic inch engine develops just over 90 brake horsepower, and it carries a total fuel capacity of 11 gallons. Here is Carl Haas, who's the entrant of the Jackie Stewart Lola. Carl, how does this car compare in overall dimensions with the Vega?
Well, this car is only 130 inches long.
And in terms of weight?
In terms of weight, it's 1,500 pounds.
Well, we saw that the Vega carried 11 gallons. I rather imagine that Jackie is carrying a little more than 11 gallons to get him through this Mid-Ohio Can-Am.
Yes, this car carries in excess of 60 gallons. The fuel is located in the chassis, you could say surrounding the driver in safety fuel cells.
Yes, these safety fuel cells are, of course, a feature of all Can-Am cars today, and a very important protection they are. Let's have a look at the power unit here, because we saw that the Vega, from its 140 cubic inches, develops 90 horsepower. What's Jackie got behind him?
Well, this is a Chevrolet engine of 494 cubic inches, giving 725 horsepower.
And, of course, it's rear-mounted or mid-engined, as we say now, and, of course, the Vega has a front engine. That's one of the major differences.
Right, that's correct.
And what about these tires, Carl? You don't find those on the Vega. What's special about these?
Well, these are Goodyear racing tires. They're 17 inches wide, although some of the street tires, the wide oval Goodyears, do have some of this technology incorporated in them.
Well, thank you, Carl Haas, for that very brief tour of Jackie Stewart's Lola. You may even think, having seen both those cars, that the only similarity between the two is that they both got one wheel in each corner and a Chevrolet engine. And there is the still race leader, 27 laps completed, and Peter Revson in the sole surviving of the two Team McLarens in the lead after 27 laps from Jackie Stewart, still in second place. Jackie Stewart without the fire, and there is the leader's situation up on the screen at the moment. Jackie Stewart in second place without the fire we saw at Road Atlanta and at Watkins Glen. He hasn't challenged for this lead at all. In third place, Joe Sifford. 29, Vic Elford in fourth place, and 48, Herbert Muller in the Ferrari in fifth place. And this is interesting. We ought to mention that Herbert Muller is going to have to stop, because this is one of the Group 7 Ferrari cars, the same sort of enduro cars that we saw at Watkins Glen. You may remember, if you were watching our telecast from there, that he was involved in an accident, and or rather, he was involved in an accident in the previous day to the Can-Am, so you wouldn't have seen it, would you? But the car's been rebuilt since, but they haven't had time to put in Can-Am-sized tanks, so that Ferrari is going to have to stop. There's Revson up to the keyhole, waving again. Look at his left hand in the air, saying to number 55, McCaig, get out of the way, mate. I'm Peter Revson. I'm leading this race, and I want to come through. And here is Revson coming through. Number 23 there is Charlie Kemp. Charlie Kemp is in 13th place.
Charlie Kemp, incidentally, is driving a McLaren 8C with a 427 cubic inch engine. He's from Jackson, Mississippi. He started racing when he was 16 in dirt tracks, and he's had a long career. And he rode also the Daytona 24 Hours. Our leader still passing effectively. Incidentally, the trap speeds I'd like to give you at the moment in the main straight. Peter Revson, your leader, turned 167.442 miles an hour. Jackie Stewart with the second quickest speed, 165.899, and Vic Elford, 162.896. And now let's go down to Alan in the pits.
All right, we've got Dave Causey here in the pits with us now. Dave, what was the problem?
Well, found out a little later, Denny broke a half shaft, got sideways in the first corner, and there's no way I could get around him, and slammed into his side.
How much damage would you say?
Quite a bit on mine. It's pretty well shot.
Maybe we can pick up a shot of your car. Right there it is in the keyhole, right?
Right.
Do you think you'll be ready for next week?
We're going to try. I've got an aluminum man at home that if we get the thing sorted out, I think we'll be all right. Probably take a new A-frame.
You don't think there'll be an engine problem?
No engine. Engine was running when I pulled it off.
Great, Dave. Thank you very much. And now we'll look for you next week. And now back to the live action. Tony?
It's not only an aluminum man that he's got at home, because Dave Causey's got a lot of cattle too. He's a cattle rancher. He comes from Indiana, and he's 41 years old, and there's quite a contrast between breeding cattle and driving Lola T222s in Can-Am racing, I would have thought. Perhaps he gets some of the cattlemen to knock it out.
We've got a rather unusual footnote about Causey, incidentally. His grandfather was Charles Fairbanks, Vice President of the United States under Teddy Roosevelt. So I wonder if he has any political aspirations himself, Tony. Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word from your local station.
And there is Peter Revson. Peter Revson into his 30th lap now, and really quite unchallenged. It does seem that Jackie Stewart, unless Jackie Stewart is keeping something to himself that we don't know, that Revson is going through unchallenged at the moment.
Peter Revson, incidentally, Tony, started racing when he was 11 years old. I see we've got a spin there. Car number 9. He seems to be getting himself straightened out.
That's number 9, Chuck Parsons in his Lola.
There's a veteran for you. Former U.S. road racing champion. Been racing for many, many years. Evidently everything under control.
And he was in 7th place at the time of that spin.
Getting back to Peter momentarily, he began racing actually, many, many years ago. He won first in a Morgan in 1960, and he says that the first money he ever got out of racing was $11. And it was tow money that he got at Lime Rock, and he says he still has the check. In 1964, he drove for BRM, Formula One, Lotus Formula 3s, where he won at Monaco. 1966, he drove the GT40 Ford, and he also helped Ford win the manufacturer's title.
Earlier today, Alan Sloan had a few words with Peter Revson. Let's go over and see what they said to each other.
The last time we talked with Peter Revson, he was a very happy young gentleman in the winner's circle at Watkins Glen. How did you pull that one out, Peter?
Well, I drove hard, but when Mr. Stewart left the race, it made it easier.
Now, we've had a chance to take a look at this course. I had a ride in a car this afternoon, and it seems to be entirely a horse of a different color.
It is. It's a completely different type of course than Watkins Glen is. It's short, tight, twisty. It reminds one of a go-kart course, and it's extremely hard to set up for because it's probably the worst road surface we race on.
You did tell me that you had made some subtle modifications in the car. Can you tell me about that?
Well, yeah, we've had to compromise somewhat in our setting because of the bumps. And we've had to raise the car, we've had to change the shock settings and so on, so the thing will ride as reasonably well over the bumps.
You've got 15 turns here. Where's a good place to pass?
Well, the straightaway is pretty short, but that's one place, and this little straight here in front of the pits, and another place coming, I think, between turns 11 and 12 is a good place.
Do you look for Jackie to be as strong a competition in the early part of the race?
Yeah, I think so. He's always tough.
Peter, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
And there is Peter Revson. We heard what he had to say, and there he is continuing on what's beginning to look like a winning way. We've had a little bit of drama in the pits that we haven't seen on camera. Number 29, Vic Elford, has gone in, and he's suffering from heat exhaustion. Quite a bad case. I understand he's passed out, and the doctors are administering to him. And Milt Minter is also in for the same reason and is having water poured all over him. The heat here is beginning to tell, although I wouldn't have thought, Jeff, that it was as hot as it was at Road Atlanta.
No, it didn't. It's morning. The humidity appeared to be quite low, but evidently this heat has gone up considerably. Car number 29 in the pits.
And that is Vic Elford's car. We've just said that he passed out. It's surprising that he was able to keep it up in the 4th place that he did, because he was in 4th place at the time that he went in. That's one of the Hiroshi Kazato mechanics there. You see, Kazato Racing Team, and no doubt you understand all that Japanese just below it, so I won't bother to explain it to you. Peter Revson, through the chicane, into the keyhole. Nobody to shake his fist at this time. I'd like to see him shake his fist up there and say, let me come through, but there wasn't anybody in the way on that occasion.
Vic Elford, by the way, drove the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, the vacuum cleaner Chaparral for Jim Hall, which was eventually outlawed. He also tried the ABS Shadow. We've got a tight passing situation there.
Yes, we have.
Revson goes on the inside.
He's going on the inside of 9, Chuck Parsons, and then the next car in front is number 20, Siffert. Now, Joe Siffert, the winner of the Grand Prix at Österreichring the other weekend, is in 3rd place, so this gives some idea of the pressure that Revson's putting on, that he's already about to lap 3rd place lap. And Stewart is about 350 yards behind Revson. There's a long gap there between 2nd and 3rd place man. We'd said earlier on that there was something trailing from Joe Siffert's car, or whatever it was. It must have dropped off, or I've got itself bolted back on again, or whatever it did do, because there's obviously little problem at the moment. There is just Joe Siffert just going out of the picture. Revson passing somebody further down the field, and now no cars between Siffert in front, just going under the bridge there to turn 1, and Revson behind him. Here is Siffert coming up into the chicane. Let's watch these two, and let's see just how quickly Revson closes up on him.
They really take all the road, Tony. You notice that, the way Jackie Stewart is drifting so far out, which they have to do in order to get everything they can out of the car in this course.
And there's the 2nd place man, Stewart, just coming up to the keyhole. This blunt-nosed Lola, rather different aerodynamic thinking. 350 yards behind Revson. Completely different aerodynamic thinking. A blunt-nosed squat that's stuck on the road. And of course the bodywork of these cars isn't just made to look pretty. They exert downforce, and that's what they're all looking for. Downforce that will thrust the tires onto the road and give them considerable traction. And this was one of the reasons before this race that they were worried. The down thrust that they were getting was putting such a strain on suspension parts. It's interesting, I'm going to come back again to what happened at the beginning and Holmes' spin, because talking to Denny this morning, Revson had a couple of suspension breakages in practice qualifying yesterday, and Denny had jokingly said, well, I didn't have anything go yesterday, perhaps it's my turn today. And little did he realize how true that was going to be on that first lap. Those of you who've joined us since that, Denny Hulme had a drive shaft break on the very first lap and was out of the race, the grand old man of Can-Am. However, there's Jackie Stewart in 2nd place. Not really close enough to challenge Revson at the moment, but Stewart's a wily bird, we know this. And we understand that Jeff?
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word.
Wherever you find race drivers, you'll find the racer's edge. Because they know nothing protects vital engine parts better than STP oil treatment. And millions of motorists just like you use STP. Because STP keeps their family cars running smoother, cooler, quieter, longer.
STP is the racer's edge.
And here are back with Can-Am live from Mid-Ohio, and Peter Revson, the race leader, 35 laps.
Those trap speeds are still holding, Tony. Revson's average speed, 95.350 miles an hour, a little bit below what was predicted, close to 100 miles an hour.
And in 2nd place is number 1, Jackie Stewart. In 3rd place, number 20, Joe Siffert. And in 4th place, another man who was involved in that first lap drama, number 11, Lothar Moschenbacher, the only man to have competed in every round of Can-Am. There is Revson in the lead.
Jackie Stewart turned 168.899 in the fast straight through the speed trap, and Peter Revson with a 167.053.
And the distance between Revson, who went out of the picture just before the orange car of Siffert, is that far in front of Stewart. Here is Revson. Maybe we'll see the gap again now. Remember, in between the two of them is Joe Siffert. And we understand Alan Sloan has got some drama in the pits. Alan Sloan in the pits.
Right, Tony. We have Jerry Hodges with us. I know there's a little overheating as far as the car is concerned. How about you personally?
Very hot, very hot.
What do you think?
Well, I'm out of the race, but looks like everybody else is going good.
What sort of remedial measures will you take between now and next Sunday?
Well, it's a water pump failure. We'll have to take care of that.
You said a little earlier that you didn't really have the time to practice here at the Mid-Ohio.
No, we got here early, but we had a few problems to get sorted out, and I haven't got a chance to get the car set up properly.
There's been a considerable amount of comment, pro and con, as far as this track is concerned. Your comments?
Well, it's a very bumpy course and difficult to drive. Hard to learn. Takes a lot of time to get used to the course.
Think things will be a little different in Wisconsin?
Well, I hope so. We should spend more time on the track prior to the race.
Jerry, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck next week. All right, let's get back to the live action and Tony Boyd.
And back with the live action, there is Peter Revson into the far straight. Something like 175 miles an hour down here.
That was a tough break for Jerry because he started SCCA racing originally. He was in Can-Am last year. He was the 1969 national champion in Formula A.
The gap now between Revson and Stewart is 5.6 seconds. This gap is a little bit elastic. We mentioned it earlier on. They're passing a number of people whom they're lapping, and we must expect it to elasticate, if that's the right word. It'll grow a little bit dependent upon how much they get bulked, or it will come down a little bit. Certainly Stewart isn't in a position to challenge at the moment. I've got a lap time for Revson here of 1 minute 28.6 seconds. And that was the distance between Revson and Stewart. Stewart in second place, the man whom we told you was very, very unhappy indeed before the start of this race. I cannot still help but wonder whether Stewart is playing it very, very cleverly indeed.
Incidentally, Peter Revson's going to be a pretty busy driver because next weekend he'll be running at Road America. The following weekend he'll be running a 500-mile Indianapolis car race. Denny Hulme will be there too, driving the McLaren Indianapolis car, so he's going to be quite a busy man for the next 3 weeks.
There is Revson through the keyhole. He's again on his own. Very much on his own this time.
He seems to be having no trouble, Tony. He never went off the course. He's never been off at all. We'll repeat to you, incidentally, that this is coming to you live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington. As you see it, it's happening. Revson, as I say, is very consistent. Stewart did go off the course in practice, and of course Denny Hulme had his unfortunate situation at the beginning of the race. Here's your second place car, the current world champion for 1971, Jackie Stewart, and again, Peter Revson.
In the sort of tires that are used here. We made reference earlier on when we were looking at the Lola and the Chevrolet Vega together to a 17-inch tread, and this really is the width of the tread used by the top boys. Enormous tires of very soft compound, and they're only about 1/8 of an inch thick, the rubber compound on the top, and they run at a pressure of something like about 20-25 pounds, dependent upon choice.
The only other problem with these tires, Tony, is that they have very thin sidewalls, and of course they're highly susceptible to cuts, and this is what makes it very dangerous if someone blows an engine on the course and scatters parts. This could be enormously difficult, and of course come up with a flat tire situation, which Jackie has been plagued with previously.
Yes, well, I was talking to the Goodyear boys about Jackie's 2 punches in previous races, and they said it was just a question of cuts. He must have picked something up off the track. So he had the very bad misfortune to do that on those occasions, consecutive occasions. 39 laps now, the Lola's still running. I say that because, of course, the McLarens are so proven in terms of their race reliability. There is, behind Revson now, number 11, Lothar Moschenbacher in 4th place. We mustn't forget this man.
We're at the halfway point now. We have 39 laps completed by the leaders. And it looks so far as though the pattern is holding pretty steadily. Now it's a case of whether Stewart can get some breaks or not, or whether Moschenbacher can do the same. Here are the rundowns at 40 laps. Peter Revson, Jackie Stewart, Joe Siffert, Moschenbacher, and Tony Adamowicz. Your first 5 leaders.
Jeff, it's very interesting to see Adamowicz up there in 5th place. He's driving Oscar Koloveski's car and doing very well with it. Alan Sloan in the pits. I understand you've got somebody to talk to once again.
Right, Tony, we have Hiroshi Kazada here. It didn't last very long for you today, did it?
Yes. Well, I was running first corner, but I almost passed the other person, but
he does not permit to me, so I go out, and the engine has stopped and never start again.
What's the prognosis as far as the car is concerned for next week, Hiroshi?
You mean an aircraft race? I will go.
You'll be there?
Yeah.
Would you comment on the track for us, as far as you had a chance to see it?
I never seen aircraft wreck before, so I must learn many things from it.
All right, we'll be looking for you next week, Hiroshi, and better luck then.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's get back to the live action and Tony Moy.
Well, that was very interesting. Hiroshi Katsato, Japanese, 22 years old, by far the youngest man in this Can-Am race. He's already won $10,450 and is lying 11th in the championship. And how good it is to see somebody from the East out here racing. Very good indeed. There's the leader, Peter Revson.
Tony, I thought we'd slip in a comment again, as we have done at our last race, for the benefit of those who are used to American measurements with 5, 7, 8-liter engines. 5 liters is equivalent to 307 cubic inches, 7 liters, 427 cubic inches. The 8.1-liter engines, the really big engines used by the McLarens, 494 cubic inches. So this gives you a comparison with the engine you may have. Cam-In 71 will continue in a moment after this word.
If you're thinking about buying a Triumph Spitfire because it's a national racing champion, don't be contemptuous of those who buy it for its Michelotti styling. Consider the satisfaction of owning a car that looks as good going slow as it does going fast.
Hi there, I'm Alan Sloan. Today's race is sanctioned and managed by members of the Sports Car Club of America. Members of this unique organization are busy every weekend, participating in their own cars, in rallies, driving a measured and timed course under controlled conditions, in slaloms and field trials, and in racing drivers' schools supervised by the SCCA. Later in this program, you'll see a special offer from SCCA, including information on how you can become a member of this growing, exciting club.
And I understand that Alan Sloan has now got Denny Hulme in the pits. Alan, let's hear what Denny's side of it.
Thank you very much, Tony. We do have Denny here. What happened?
Well, accelerated away after receiving the green flag and arrived at the first corner. There was an almighty bang under the back of the car, and then the car started slowly spin sideways. I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm in front of this whole pack. Nothing I can do about it. My brakes had failed due to the drive shaft snapping, and we have inboard rear brakes, so that meant the brakes weren't connected to the rear wheels, and I was sort of in neutral. And it just slowly spun around in front of the pack, and all was well until the pack come rushing up on me, and a bit like a ping pong ball amongst the pack for a little while.
How much damage?
Enough that I'd say the car is totally written off, and we do have a spare chassis in Europe, which we'll have to get out here, but only allows us another 3 or 4 days to get it out here and get it ready for Elkhart Lake.
You were a very distraught and angry young man when you came off the track. And right now the folks at home are having a chance to look at your car. What, I know, obviously, the frustration, but what was the real anger when you came off the track?
Well, it was something that I'd been an advocate for taking the inboard rear brakes off and putting them out inside the wheel for the first 3 or 4 races at least, because I felt, well, this was always a big problem. If the shaft should snap, you would end up with no brakes, and of course this is exactly what happened, and it's proved it, but it's more annoying that it's destroyed my race car.
We've had a lot of comment on this track. Do you think it is raceable or not?
This didn't help.
It didn't help.
This aggravated the situation with the car. You leave the track in 2 different parts on each lap, once with quite a lot of power on the transmission, and obviously when it lands, it jerks or snaps the drive shaft, and this is what aggravated the situation as well.
We saw that part, Denny. We'll be looking for you next week, hopefully. All right, let's get back to the live action, and Tony Moy.
Well, whilst Alan Sloan was talking to Denny Hulme there, we had the expected pit stop from Herbert Muller in the Ferrari. He lost 1 place. You remember we told you this is an enduro car and hasn't yet got Can-Am tanks. But that all happened whilst we were talking to Denny. There's the leader, number 7, Peter Revson.
Tony, what can you say about our man who just dropped out on the first? And, of course, we've got Jackie Stewart running second still, waiting for that chance, and it may come up because any number of things could happen. And Stewart, if he can do it, obviously will. The defending, well, actually the 1971 world champion. But I was commenting briefly there about Denny Hulme, a man who has had a fantastic record, the 1967 Formula One champion, the man who went to Indianapolis in his rookie year, finished fourth, sustained very serious burns, managed to come back and drove today with a very stiff knee, so he's had quite a workout. And as you can see, Revson is taking every bit of this road, every part of it that is available on this very, very narrow course, Tony.
Yes, indeed. We've had another stop at the pits. 55, McCaig's been in just to have some water poured over him. That took 25 seconds. And we understand also that the black flag has gone out for car number 23. That's Charlie Kemp. But nothing deters Peter Revson. Here he is, coming up through the chicane again, into the keyhole.
We have 5 cars now on the same lap, according to our information.
There's Tony Adamovitz in the Jeremy car. Now, Tony Adamovitz is running at the present moment in 5th place. He took over the drive from Oscar Koloveski, and really those two seem to have a tremendous rapport between each other. Jeff, you know them both very well, I know. They seem to get on so well.
Well, they formed something, Tony, that's kind of amusing. It's the Polish Racing Drivers Association of America. I think they have 4 active members, and they have about 500 honorary members.
Yes, earlier Alan Sloan talked to Tony Adamovitz. Let's hear what they said to each other.
Tony, how are you set up here for the Mid-Ohio?
Alan, things look pretty good for us here at Mid-Ohio. We're really looking forward to a very good race. Since I took over the Jeremy McLaren from Oscar Kowaleski, we've finished the last 2 races very high up, and we're running 5th in the point standings. We hope to do better with this race.
Now, about qualifying today, what did you come in with that?
Qualifying today was very good for us. We were looking at something being much further back, closer to 10th, and we ended up being 5th overall, or 6th overall now. As a result, we're pretty happy.
What do you think about this course, as, say, compared to a Watkins Glen or an Atlanta?
This course in the country itself is really very picturesque. Watkins Glen seems to be covered with guardrails, and you lose a lot of the depth that you have here. It's a very enjoyable racetrack.
Do you say that at speeds of 100+ miles an hour?
Well, yes, you do, too, because you still get the feel of the racetrack much more, minus some of the guardrails, which seem to be very apparent at Watkins Glen, but not so here.
Where is a good spot, as far as your car is concerned, for a passing situation on this track?
Well, we're only running a 427, where most everyone else is running a 494 cubic inch engine. And most of my passing is going to have to be done either under braking or in the corners.
Have you made any modifications since Watkins Glen?
Watkins Glen, the car's been pretty much left the same, except we went to a smaller displacement engine for this course.
Well, we'll see how it works out, Tony.
Okay, Alan.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, I have it. Right after this. Can-Am 71 will continue its live coverage of the Mid-Ohio Can-Am following station identification. Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Can-Am 1971 in your picture. The leader, Peter Revson, followed by Jackie Stewart in 2nd place. Tony?
Yes, 47 laps completed now, and that Revson, Stewart, and then in 3rd place, still number 20, Joe Siffert in the 5-litre Porsche. I read in 2nd place, Stewart. There you are. See him go through the keyhole. Siffert in 3rd place in the 3-litre Porsche. In 4th place is number 11, Lothar Moschenbacher. 5th place, number 54, Tony Adamovitz. In 6th place, the Ferrari, having had its pit stop, number 48, Herbert Muller, having his first Can-Am race over here to see what Can-Am's all about. Might do a full season next year. In 7th place is number 9, Chuck Parsons. In 8th place, number 0, Milt Minter. And in 9th place, number 55, Roger McCaig. And in 10th place, 35, Danny Hopkins.
Tony, a note here with the Ferrari. These cars were built, of course, for the World Manufacturers' Championship race, which had a limit of 5 liters, as was the Porsche, driven by Siffert. Both these cars are going to sort of become anachronisms at the end of this season because the Manufacturers' Championship race will go down to 3 liters. So what's going to happen to that Porsche of Siffert's next year is anybody's question.
Well, of course, this particular Porsche is the Can-Am car. This is the Spider built for Can-Am, and I think we must expect them to see updated with a bigger engine.
Well, I'd asked Joe about the fabled 16-cylinder Porsche, but he isn't quite sure whether it's going to be available. There is some talk they might try to turbocharge it.
Well, of course, they're all very negative about these sort of questions, but there's no doubt about it that this is a new car. It appeared for the Can-Am at Watkins Glen. In fact, it appeared for Can-Am qualifying in one color and was rapidly painted overnight for the race in a different color. Something to do with sponsorship, I think we call that, Jeff.
STP. They are one of our sponsors.
And there is the Ferrari just coming into the picture on the right, the car we were talking about, just in and out of the picture. Herbert Mueller's Ferrari. Number 11, Lothar Moschenbacher there. Lothar Moschenbacher, number 11, the second of those 2 cars. The man who came over from Germany about 11 or 12 years ago, came over to a Mercedes distributorship, ran it for about 5 or 6 years and decided he wanted to go motor racing full time, and very successful it's been. He's the only man to have started in every Can-Am race ever held. Lying third in the championship so far this year, having won no less than $31,750. He finished second overall last year in the Can-Am and earned $81,000. Second, of course, to Denny. There is Lothar. Almost entirely lost his German accent now. I was asking him yesterday whether he still had German nationally. And we talked yesterday to Lothar Moschenbacher, and Alan Sloan did, and we were asking him, or Alan was, how he was set up.
How are things shaping up for you here at the Mid-Ohio?
Quite well, thank you. We finally got the car sorted by late this afternoon. We're qualified. And unofficially, we're at in 5th place now at 129.08.
I know that makes you happy. It'd be a silly thing to say that it didn't, but there are a lot of benefits from that other than just being on the pole, right?
Oh, yes, in ways of looking at 190 miles of racing.
Now, you've had your problems in the past with the Can-Am Series. Do you really think that perhaps this time this might be the answer and you could possibly wrap it up?
Well, speed-wise, I know we're somewhat off the pace, so and we're definitely counting on finishing the race and stay in the point standings as well, and finish quite well. Hopefully, win it. Yes.
Could we say Mid-Ohio is your favorite course?
Definitely one of them, yes.
Have you made modifications from Watkins Glen to this point?
Minor modifications other than repair the car, yes.
What's your appraisal of the track condition?
It could stand some patching here and there, mainly the back straightaway. It gets quite bumpy now. It's been getting worse over the years, but it is quite bumpy now.
What do you do to compensate for that bumpiness?
Hang on to the steering wheel a little harder.
Hang on and pray, right? Yeah. Lothar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And back with the Can-Am race live and the leader, Peter Revson. Peter Revson, still from Jackie Stewart, Joe Seifert, Lothar Moschenbacher, whom we just heard talking, in 4th place. In 5th place, number 54, Tony Adamowicz in the Jeremy McLaren. Jeremy, of course, is a name of an electric car, a model car, and if you think that, or radio-controlled car, I should say, and if you think that sounds easy, Oscar Kolovetsky asked me to drive one yesterday, and I was wild with it. That's Tony Adamowicz in 5th place.
A note that I wanted to insert, Tony, that some viewers may have wondered why Mario Andretti isn't here. Unfortunately, his big 7-liter car was taken back to the factory at Modena, and Ferrari at the moment is so wrapped up developing a new Formula One engine that they say they won't have the car ready until a later Can-Am series. And of course, Andretti wants to drive the rest of this series very much.
And here is the leader once again.
In a moment, we'll get official timing for you. The gap between the leader, Revson, and the 2nd place car, Jackie Stewart, still appears to be about the same, Tony. Jackie hasn't been able to improve his position too much.
Yes, the man between them on the track that we see in the yellow and blue car is number 35, Danny Hopkins in the Lola. There's Revson. Now this is Danny Hopkins coming up in the yellow Lola. And then there's Stewart, the next man up. And of course, Danny Hopkins is a long way down the field. He's in 11th place. That's not a long way, is it? I do him an injustice. There is Stewart. Through the keyhole.
Is from California. This is, by the way, is his first year, Hopkins' first year in Can-Am. He was National H Production Champion in 1966 with the SCCA. Driving very well his Lola T160.
Through the keyhole. Peter Revson. Not a wheel wrong yet. Beautiful performance. And we've got Alan Sloan with Chuck Parsons in the pits.
All right, we've got a little oil situation here. It looks like a very brief pit stop and certainly by no means out of the race. It looks like, and there he goes. Now let's get back to the live action. And Tony Moy.
That was number 9, Chuck Parsons in the pits. He's in 7th place, and that was indeed a very short stop. That's 52 laps completed now by Peter Revson. He goes left into turn 1. Still, you can see the Denny Hulme car against the steel barrier in the background.
Tony, I think that possibly Jackie is extracting everything he possibly can from this car. He seems to have to work harder with it, Tony, possibly than Peter does with his McLaren. See those bumps as he goes through these turns, and of course testifying to the unevenness of this track, which was originally designed as a club racing track, Tony.
And there's a difference between Revson and Stewart. Stewart just coming up. 41 there is Jim Butcher and his Lola.
Revson has a new trap speed of 170.213. He must be really trying to turn it on. Jackie Stewart with 168.618. So Revson has the official quickest time through the trap today. That was turned on lap 53.
And in the pits there, number 34, that's George Jolson in his McLaren. George Jolson, water in evidence there. Every time there's a pit stop, there's water, but I tend to think that's for the cooling of the driver rather than for the car. We shall have to see here. My view is obscured, as indeed yours is at home, by the mechanics working on the car there. You get some idea of the heat here at Mid-Ohio. Everybody's stripped to the waist. 34, George Jolson in a McLaren M8C, 36 years old, comes from Jackson, Florida. Single. Began SCCA racing as way back as 1956 in a Ford Thunderbird. And he's competed regularly in Can-Am since 1967. Back on the action we are. Peter Revson there, trying to get by a couple of the 3 other cars further down the field in front of him.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word. Can-Am 1971, live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. Peter Revson still holding his lead over Jackie Stewart. Joe Sifford in the SDP Porsche is running 3rd. Tony?
Yes, the car we just had a glimpse of there. There he is in the picture, number 66, Stanley Kazakowicz. I don't think we've seen him earlier this race. Just looking across at my lap chart, he's in 12th place. And there's Joe Sifford. Now you can see this Can-Am Porsche Spider, the open cockpit. You remember, you Enduro fans, that the Porsche 917 had a completely enclosed cockpit. This has the wing mounted between 2 tails at the rear. It's got the 5-litre Porsche 517 engine. Extremely reliable piece of motor car. And Joe Sifford having only his 2nd drive in Can-Am this year. This car was good enough to give him 3rd place at Watkins Glen. Here he comes now, up the rise through that little dip. Let's watch him through the chicane up here as he comes all the way up to the keyhole. Joe Sifford, the winner of the last Formula One Grand Prix in Europe, the Österreichring, the Austrian Grand Prix, through the keyhole now. Beautiful line with the low front profile of the Porsche. And one cannot help but think that this bodes for a big Porsche attack on Can-Am next year. Joe Seifert, of course, gave BRM that tremendous win, the first BRM win since Pedro Rodriguez won at Spa, and a win very much needed for them. And Joe Seifert really must be at the top of his form. It was a lot to take on the complete responsibility of the BRM team after the sad and disturbing Pedro Rodriguez death, but Joe Seifert is a great driver.
Tony, another factor that contributes to the heat here.
Earlier on, we talked to Lothar Moschenbacher's wife. We thought we'd like to get the view from the ladies, the wives of these drivers, and when we talked, Alan Sloan, that is, talked to Lothar's wife about Lothar's accident at Watkins Glen.
It happened. I wasn't aware at that time what happened. That when he came around, naturally I know he's not there, and I never know until afterwards, or someone makes sure they come to tell me what has happened, but I think sometimes he's just pulled off or something's gone wrong. I never think the worst. And then they came up and I realized what happened, and I ran down to see where he was. And unless I see an ambulance or a fire truck go out, I don't really worry too much. I know he's all right, and he usually gets back to the pit as soon as he can to tell me he's all right and knows. So
Well, you have faith, of course, in his driving ability and the skill that is inherently involved, right? Did you ever wish maybe he'd become a plumber?
No, I'd never ask him to stop what he's doing. I know he's too happy, and I do have full and complete confidence in him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there is Lothar Moschenbacher live going through the keyhole. We've just heard his wife talking to us. What a charmer she is, isn't she?
She is, Tony. There's a little anecdote that's rather amusing. We just learned today that she was originally a beauty queen and had been in many victory lanes. And Lothar had kissed her about 6 or 7 times, and she'd never been out with him, so she decided to go out with him, and that's sort of what developed.
Yes, she's told me, Jeff, that Lothar kept on winning and winning and winning, and kissing and kissing and kissing her, and she thought, well, this really must start soon. And Lothar was noticeably slow to get it started, but anyway, she got the job sorted out in the end.
A factor I was mentioning, Tony, about the heat. Not only is it enormously hot in these cockpits, as it is in all racing cars, but these drivers are, of course, suited up with a very heavy fireproof coveralls and fireproof underwear, the socks and the gloves, and many of them wear full-face helmets, and they get very little air.
We're now 57 laps into this race. The gap is getting bigger slightly all the while, 14.2 seconds. I'm inclined to say now that Jackie Stewart can do nothing about it. What do you think?
I would say so, Tony, because on all the races previously, Jackie has had to push the car to the absolute limit to stay up there. He has been on the pole. He's led every race. Unfortunately, he's only finished one, which he won. But I think he has to work a lot harder with this Lola than Revson does, of course, with the McLaren.
Yes, that's an interesting point. I just noticed from the lap chart that, of course, it has now lasted a couple of laps longer than it lasted at the Glen. Let's keep our fingers crossed for Jackie. He could do with the cash, couldn't he?
That's very true. The Scotsman always appreciates the collecting a little money over here. This is one of the reasons Jackie told me he was looking forward to this series. He obviously is, of course, losing ground, and what the reason is, we don't know. We're going to get another timing on the gap between Revson and Stewart. Seifert seems to be holding his own pretty well in third place, though.
Yes, indeed. And talking of a Scotsman liking a little money, I've no doubt that Revson is not impartial to a little himself as well. The purse for this Can-Am is a total of $86,750. And for a race win, it's $13,000, $9,200 for second place. And it goes all the way down to 20th place, where one can get $400. Qualifying, too, is worth $20,000, of which $2,600 go to the man who gets the pole. So Can-Am racing is very lucrative indeed, and this is what attracts so many Europeans over here. We don't race for the same amount of cash, Jeff, in Europe as you do here. There's Tony Adamovich, number 54, in the Jeremy McLaren, round the keyhole.
This is sponsored by a little outfit called Auto World, which happens to be the organization of Oscar Kovalevsky. And yesterday he was running his little toy model cars around and entertaining everybody. He's quite an amusing guy himself and did race a great deal until he brought Tony in, and Tony's done quite a job for him.
We just had a glimpse then of a dice that's going on further down the field. That was number 0 in 8th place. And number 0 in 7th place, that's Milt Minter. And number 9 in 8th place, who is Chuck Parsons. Here they are. There's Minter. That's a Porsche. And there is Chuck Parsons behind him. And those two are dicing for that 7th place on the road. That is a race as we see it. Milt Minter in the Porsche, number 0 in front. Incidentally, this is the Joe Seaford car of 2 years ago, and he shortened it between Watkins Glen and this race. You see the big air scoop let into the front of the car there, and Chuck Parsons chasing him very, very hard indeed. And it looks to me as if Chuck Parsons is going to try and get by. He is, he's going by, he's past Milt Minter. Chuck Parsons now goes into 7th place at the expense of Milt Minter round the keyhole. Number 9, Chuck Parsons in the McLaren M8D. This car was to have been driven here today by Ron Grable, but Ron Grable broke his leg at Donnybrook last week. I understand it's a very bad break indeed.
He has won $7,300 so far, incidentally, Tony.
Yes, he was 3rd overall in the 1969 Can-Am, and is the current moment before today lying joint 8th with Andretti and Bondurant, having won $7,300 this year. That's Chuck Parsons.
A long campaigner in racing.
Yes, I understand he's driven every Can-Am series since it started, Jeff.
U.S. road racing champion, I think, in 1965 or 66, and really has been around.
And here we are, back with the leader, number 7, Peter Revson. Pole position at Indianapolis this time. 20 laps to go of this Mid-Ohio Can-Am, which we're bringing to you live.
I wonder if Peter, if he does win, will go through the same production he gave up at Watkins Glen, Tony. It might be something to watch.
I did ask him to, Jeff, but I don't know whether he'll remember to do so.
Can-Am 71, live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio for the J-Wax Trophy. And again, we're showing you our leader, Peter Revson, who has taken over and done a really magnificent job, Tony.
Yes, indeed. I don't know about taken over. The only bit that Denny Holm led was the first 100 yards, and that ended fairly dramatically. There is Peter Revson.
He's certainly become a versatile driver because, of course, he drove Trans Am races, javelins with the Roger Penske team with Mark Donohue. And he's, in fact, driving javelins for Roy Woods this year in the Trans Am Series, as well as driving Can-Am and also the major Indianapolis car races for the McLaren team. So, as we said earlier, he's quite a busy guy.
Yes, indeed, and it's incredible to think that prior to Road Atlanta, he'd never won a Can-Am. It's interesting also that last year he drove for Jackie Stewart's sponsor, Carl Haas.
Here are the 1971 Can-Am winnings so far. Peter Revson, $57,300. Denny Holm, $56,750. Lothar Mochenbacher, $31,750. Jackie Stewart, $27,700. Bob Bondurant, incidentally, $12,100. Bob has a driver's school out in California, and he participated in several motion pictures. A long-time SCCA driver and a very fine professional driver.
Yes, and we should say he's not driving here today. He was driving last time for Lothar Mochenbacher's second car at Watkins Glen, but we understand that Bondurant is not going to drive anymore in that particular car.
It looks so easy from here when you watch it on the screen, Tony, doesn't it?
Yes, of course, it's anything but, as we all know. One of the big problems with these Can-Am cars is that if you're following a fast man very close indeed, and both Revson, Stewart and Holm have talked about this, the effect of the draft behind the car is to lift the second car, the one that's following, off the ground. And both Revson and Holm have talked about realizing that the front end of the car has gone completely light. Number 34 there is George Jolson. And George Jolson talked to us earlier on about the money in Can-Am. There he is in the picture now. And let's go over to Alan Sloan and see what he said earlier.
George Jolson, what brings you here to Mid-Ohio, and to all the Can-Ams week after week after week?
Money.
Oh, money, right?
A little bit of money.
You're starting just about in the middle of the pack. Is there kind of a psychological disadvantage to this?
Well, no, because we understand that we're not here with a sponsor. We don't have a lot of spending money, so we do the best we can. We try to get a sponsor. We'd like to have one. We could go a little better if we had more equipment, a little more money, but we do the best we can.
You had a little bit of a problem at Watkins Glen. Could you tell us about that, George?
Well, I probably got the distinction of driving a little faster backwards than most anybody else I know drove forwards. We kind of tore up the car a little bit, but we got it fixed for this race again.
Any modifications?
No, the car is about just like it was before the crash. We're just a little poor is all.
Is this tighter track an advantage to you, to your way of thinking?
No, not really. We don't have a lot of the extra equipment, but it is much more tiring. I'm really kind of beat this afternoon.
Well, we're going to wish you good luck and look for you in the winner's circle, maybe tomorrow. Do you think you could possibly make it?
Well, it would take a real bunch of coincidences, but there's always a chance. But we like to finish up high enough that we can get a little prize money and pay a few of the bills.
And there is Moschenbach. He's taken his seatbelt off. It looks to me as if it's all over. He seems to realize it. Yes, surely. He was in 4th position, number 11, Lothar Moschenbacher. He's got out of the car, and it looks to me very much like the end. There's his chief mechanic talking to him. It doesn't look to me as if they're going to do very much to it. There's number 20, Joe Siffert, and number 0, Milt Minter behind him. He's had another pit stop. It cost him 19 seconds, his pit stop on the 62nd lap. There's Revson, the race leader, number 7, now on his 64th lap.
That's a tough break for Moschenbacher. 2 races in a row where they unable to finish. Of course, this is a little safer than the disappearance that he had at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago.
Yes, and it's also unfortunate because he climbed up the field so much. There's 0, Milt Minter, just being passed by Peter Revson. It's incidental, Minter is now 5 laps down on Revson. But of course he's had at least 2 pit stops, Minter. One to cool himself down. In fact, I think maybe the second one was for the same reason, because the temperature here is very high. The real professionals, the Revsons and the Stewarts, we expect them to be able to cope with whatever temperature is thrown at them. I'm surprised that Elford had problems with the temperature. But of course, so much can depend on personal fitness on the day.
Peter Revson still is turning it on because of lap 64 through the speed trap. He turned 171.429. That's the fastest time so far through the trap by any of the drivers. Again, Revson on lap 64, so he's not relinquishing anything and not slowing down.
64 laps, Revson, 15 laps to go. That's because, of course, he's now started his 65th lap, just to show you we do know how to add it up and make 80. In second place, number 1, Jackie Stewart in the Lola. Third, number 20, Joe Siffert in the Porsche. And now into 4th place is number 54, Tony Adamovitz in the Jeremy McLaren, by virtue of Lothar Moschenbacher's pit stop and retirement. Next up in 5th place is number 48, Herbert Müller. Herbert Who, as he's got on the back of the car. Next is number 9. That's Chuck Parsons. And then in 7th place is 0, Milt Minter. 55 is McCaig. And then we have number 35, Danny Hopkins, followed by number 41, Jim Butcher, who's in 10th place, and then number 66 in 11th place is Stanley Zarkovitz.
And this is his first season at Can-Am, by the way.
Yes, there's Siffert just being passed by Revson. Look how the professional driver moved over just to let the other guy go through. Let Revson go through, whom he knew was passing him. Joe Siffert in the Porsche, 5 litres as opposed to the 8 litres of the McLarens.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word from your local station. Live from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio, Can-Am 1971, your leader, Peter Revson, coming through beautifully, driving a superb race. Again, Tony Moy.
Thank you, Jeff. Coming through the chicane, Peter Revson. Into the keyhole now, turning right into the keyhole. And going down the straight. 175 miles an hour down this back straight. And he's way ahead of Stewart now. There is Revson. Look at the heat haze on the road there. 19.6 seconds now between leader Peter Revson and second place man Jackie Stewart. The gap widening. There is Stewart just going round the keyhole. So that's the measure of time between you saw Revson go round there is Stewart. And on our watches it's 19.6 seconds. There's Revson once more in your picture.
The point we'd like to mention, Tony, is the enormous job it takes to cover a race like this. First of all, it's much more difficult than covering a conventional oval track race. There's over $2 million worth of equipment involved. They've used 12,000 feet of camera cable, 9,000 feet of coaxial cable, 10 miles of wires, 15 miles of audio cables. They've got 6 color cameras, plus the mobile camera in the pits. So, of course, it's an enormous proposition to bring this race to you, and we sincerely hope you're enjoying it as it's coming to you live as it happens.
Perhaps an appropriate time to mention, Jeff, that we shall be back again live next weekend from Road America at Elkhart Lake.
And that's a beautiful course, Tony, and you want to try those bratwurst sandwiches. I don't think you've ever had a bratwurst sandwich, have you, Tony?
Well, I don't know about an American one. I've had 1 or 2 in Germany, but I'm sure the American ones are better. There's Revson through the keyhole. You remember a lap or two ago, we saw that heat haze. Perhaps we shall see it from our camera number 3 when we next get Revson on the next camera. There it is. Look at it shimmering on the road as Revson comes over that bump. The heat haze there. We've seen Elford into the pits to retire. Elford passed out because of the heat. Milt Minter, we've seen have a couple of stops and have a bucket of water thrown over him. Even on the grid before the pace laps, we saw Lothar Moschenbacher having water poured down his driver's suit to try and repel some of this heat fatigue.
Tony, Lothar Moschenbacher's car went out with a ring and pinion gear, so that was a major mechanical failure for him.
And very decisive. Not surprising, Jeff, that he got out and knew exactly what the situation was without the mechanics looking at it.
Very true. Of course, they try to save these engines if anything happens, because they're very expensive. They run a full race prepared engine about $10,000, and you don't want to blow those up very often.
Yeah, such an interesting comment. If you want to go out and buy a McLaren, it's going to cost you something like $18,000 to buy it from McLarens in England. And I understand that Alan Sloan in the pits is now going to have a word with Lothar Moschenbacher, so we can hear from the two of them exactly what the score was.
All right, Tony, we have Lothar with us, and it just looks like another heartbreak once again.
Yes, certainly is. Packed, the gearbox packed up.
What actually happened?
The ring and pinion in the transmission broke.
Well, that, of course, stops you for today, but what about next week, Lothar?
Well, we'll put another gearbox in, rebuild the car, and get ready for next week.
There's been a lot of controversy about the track, the condition of it, and the heat. Was heat a factor for you today?
Well, most of them are hot, and so is this one, but it doesn't really affect me as much as maybe some others.
There's been comment that the track shouldn't have been raced. What's your opinion of that?
Well, I think if that was the case, I think the track should have been inspected a while back in order for people to close it or race on it. So in this case, I think everybody showed up and we should race on it.
Lothar, I'm sorry to see you under these circumstances. Maybe it'll be a different story next week. I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's get back to the live action and Tony Moy.
Jackie Stewart through the keyhole, now down the straight. He wasn't down the keyhole. Jackie Stewart, you fooled me then.
That can happen on a course with this 15 turns in it, Tony. It's kind of hard to keep track of them.
Stewart still dropping back slightly. We really do feel that our conjecture earlier on of whether or not he could push Revson, he can't, because the gap is widening all the while. See Jackie raise the dust. He really is coming past the start and finish line now. Raise the dust a little bit on the inside of the carousel. Peter Revson now through the keyhole. So that's the measure. The keyhole around the top there. Revson going into the back straight, fastest section of the course.
You can assure that Jackie's extracting everything he can from this Lola. Of course, as he mentioned, they're trying to develop this car while they're racing it, which is a very difficult thing. The McLarens have had years of development, and of course, they've got most of their cars are here, and this car may still need a little work.
Yes, I think it's something like 5 years of development now, Jeff, behind the McLarens. It was only the first year of Can-Am 1966 that was won other than by a McLaren, and then that was John Surtees in a Lola that year.
I think Gurney also won one race in a Lola, but I'm not positive if Rich Hampton.
10 laps to go. When Revson comes around this time, that'll be 10 laps to go.
It looks good so far, but again, in motor racing, you never know till that flag falls because many things can happen on the final lap. And I know, Tony, you've seen this happen many times in the final few laps of the race.
Oh, we have indeed, and certainly Jackie Stewart is nicely placed if anything should happen. We must remember that apart from the one win that the Lola had at Saint-Jovite, this is the furthest that the Lola has gone in a race distance yet.
He's obviously driving it as possibly, if you can use the term conservatively, because Jackie is probably one of the, if not many think, the fastest driver in the world, along with over here Mario Andretti.
Yes, I think Stewart's dedication to motor racing is something that few people The average speed of the race so far, 96.257 miles per hour. Peter Revson, of course, is showing that same sort of dedication that we talk about. Undoubtedly, this move to McLaren's this year. There's number 35, that's Danny Hopkins. Danny Hopkins, who stopped opposite the start and finish line with clouds of smoke coming out of the car. There's Carl Haas, the Lola team entrant. But that's number 35, Danny Hopkins, Lola T160, with clouds of smoke coming out. There's Danny taking his helmet off. It wasn't an accident there, he just blew it up, I think, and it pulled off, and I would think that he's despondent maybe, but probably glad of the rest. It's his own car, 31 years old. Danny Hopkins sells cola for his living. Comes from Altadena, California. And having his first year of Can-Am. He's one of the chief instructors, incidentally, at the Riverside Raceway for the SCCA. He was in 9th position when he stopped. See, Herd Enterprises, his entrant on the back there, but obviously a lot of work to be done on that engine before it races again, I would think.
Can-Am 71 will continue in a moment after this word.
This is Alan Sloan again. As you saw earlier, the Sports Car Club of America is a participating, active organization of people who love cars and the outdoors. To learn how you can become a member of the SCCA and receive this full-color official J-Wax Can-Am poster, send $1 to SCCA Offer, Westport, Connecticut, 06880. Do it today. $1 to SCCA Offer, Westport, Connecticut, 06880.
And here's all the drama of this race. In the pits, Peter Revson is coming to the pits whilst we were having that commercial. There he is. This looks like a wheel change there. It's the right rear wheel that's going to be changed. Peter Revson in the pits. This is drama. Now, where's Jackie Stewart? And there is Stewart. Jackie Stewart now in the lead. Well, 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 just when we were saying that Stewart wouldn't be able to do it, Revson into the pits for a wheel change. He's still in there with all the McLaren team members around the car, as well they may be. 8 laps to go, and suddenly Mid-Ohio has come alive.
This is the break they've been waiting for.
What a race, Jeff. The
What a
invincible McLarens, one out on an accident on turn 1 of lap 1, and now the McLarens, which we don't believe can have mechanical trouble, with Revson still in the pits.
I really can't help but pulling for Jackie after riding Herd for all this length of the race. And here he is on the verge of going in. And we looks like we're down in the pits. It's a case of what's happening. Revson is out of the car. It looks like he's had it. The race may be over for him, Tony.
Yes, he's got his helmet off. I wonder too, Jeff, whether he looks a bit on the exhausted side, but that of course could be just the letdown of having retired. Here comes the glucose drink to help him, but undoubtedly he's out of the race by my book.
Well, that's part of this game. You either wait and see, or else you do the best you can and hope for the breaks, and Jackie Stewart's gotten one this time.
I think he did both, Jeff. I think he waited and had a look, and he did the best he could, because I think we're both agreed that he couldn't have done much better.
That's very true. A very dramatic turn to this race, which we both talked about just about 5 minutes ago.
Well, we all say that it only needs an announcer to say one thing and another thing happens. So here is Jackie Stewart in the Lola.
Taking over on lap 73.
7 laps to go between he and the checkered flag. And of course the Lola, well, it's gone 73 laps, but it's not the most reliable of motor cars yet. As Jeff Scott has just been telling us, it's a case of development whilst it races, but I would think Jackie will ease off a lot now. Joe Sifford in second place.
I wonder if Alan will have much trouble getting him to talk, Tony.
I shouldn't think he's got any energy left to talk, Jeff.
Oh, he always has. I've never seen him go lost for words. Motoring around beautifully here as the race draws to its conclusion. At the moment, it appears that Jackie Stewart has this race, but again, it's not over. We've still got about 6 laps to go. Taking that wide sweep, the outside, taking all the track, and he's all by himself out there now, Tony.
And here is Revson's incident. It wasn't only a rear wheel, or maybe it was. In slow motion, we're going back to show you what happened. Look at the smoke coming out from the back of the McLaren M80. Now, I wonder if that's suspension collapse and the wheel rubbing against the bodywork. Jeff?
It looks like it with the tire smoke.
Yes, I would think that is what it is.
Maybe the...
Yes, I understand it's the upper A-arm that's broken.
And this course took its toll then, Tony.
The upper A-arm broke, and that obviously dropped the bodywork onto the car, caused the smoke, and there's the leader and potential race winner, the world champion-elect for 1971, Jackie Stewart.
And it appears as though the Lola turned out to be the stronger of the two.
That makes interesting comment after all Jackie's comments before this race.
He was the one that complained most about the race. It looks like he's going to win.
And his lap time on lap 74 has gone down to 1 minute 31.1, because really he is completely unchallenged by Joe Sifford in second place. Joe Sifford is 2 laps down on Stewart, so really all he has got to do is keep it rolling for the remainder of this race, the 5 and a bit laps left to go.
And that brings Adamowicz, incidentally, up to 4th spot, which is very good for him. He is now up to 3rd spot. We'll correct that. Thank you. Mrs. Moy, who is doing our lap chart keeping here, Tony's wife, is doing a beautiful job, and she corrects all our errors, and I think we ought to give her credit for that.
4 laps to go.
I can make the comments, because it wouldn't be right for Tony to do that about his own wife, I think. But she's done a terrific job for us, and there he is. Under superb control at this point with 4 laps to go.
Now we've got a little bit of a change to what caused the Revson failure. We now understand that it was a half shaft which broke, which is interesting because that's what happened to Denny. And we understand that this is confirmed from Ian Young, the Kiwi journalist who is the ever-present companion of the McLaren team. And I think, Jeff, we can say if that came from Ian Young, then that is the fact.
And he knows. He's one of the most knowledgeable journalists in the business, I might add. As is, I might mention Jim Mollett here from Auto Week, a good friend of ours who will be covering this. Peter Revson in your picture now and looking very exhausted, obviously, and having a little thirst quencher there. He looks obviously very tired and, of course, has probably lost a little weight, too.
I think, Jeff, that's more than just tiredness. I think, as you say, there's a degree of exhaustion there. Obviously, it is taking a tremendous strain.
Perhaps somebody can pick us, not that we have much time left, of what the temperature is out there. I know it's hot enough in the booth, and it must be enormously warm out there.
I think we can safely say they're hotter than we are.
Yeah, very much so. 3 laps to go, Tony.
Well, another win for Jackie Stewart. Following up that Saint-Jovite win, and another maximum points in this Can-Am, and a lot of dollars to take back to Switzerland and put in one of those Swiss banks.
That puts him in 3rd spot in points, Tony. He'll have 40 points now. We also might mention that at this track in Mid-Ohio, they've had evidently what appears to be a maximum turnout. It's a tremendous crowd that we can see, and it looks like it's been a very successful weekend here.
Jackie Stewart completely unpressed from behind, continues on what looks to be a winning way. I hesitate to say it because we've just said when announcers say things like that, strange things happen, but really, Jackie can afford to conserve the car now. And here's the schedule of the remaining Can-Am races. August 29, Road America. We'll be there. September 12, Donnybrook. September 26, Edmonton. October 17, Laguna Seca. And October 31, Riverside. Next weekend, 29. Alan Sloan in the pits. I understand you've got some action for us.
Peter, what happened?
Well, I'm afraid a half shaft broke. Just suddenly, it was running real good, and then all of a sudden, I started dragging the right rear, and the drive line was making a lot of noise, and it's pretty obvious what it was.
You were never headed up to this point. It looked like it was a shoe-in. What about next week, Peter?
Oh, we'll be ready. There's no real damage to the car, a couple of replacement parts, and we'll be ready to go again. But
I know how you feel, and there's a great deal of empathy at home for you. We'll be looking for something else next week.
All right, thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Peter Revson. All right, let's get back.
Tony, it's an interesting point here between these two about their attitude in this series, and I'm really curious, as you say, to see what Jackie has to say when he gets into victory lane. I wonder if they'll ask him about this course again.
You know Jackie Stewart as well as I do, Jeff. Jackie Stewart exudes confidence in a nice way, and Jackie Stewart will say, yes, I had a great race, bad luck Peter, bad luck Denny, and off we go. Here he is, Jackie Stewart. Look at the blunt-nosed Lola there, the ram pipes from the Chev engine you can see in the back. First is Stewart, second is number 20, Sifford, third is number 54, Adamovitz, fourth is number 54, fourth is number 48, I should say, Herbert Muller. In fifth place is number 48.
Car number 9 has moved up there. That's Chuck Parsons in the low.
One more lap to go for Jackie Stewart, like Dave Muller. They're both fourth and fifth place. In fifth place, of course, is number 9, Chuck Parsons, and then number 0, Milton Minter. But one more lap to go when Stewart passes the line this time. There he is. One lap to go between Jackie Stewart and the checkered flag of the Mid-Ohio Can-Am.
I imagine Eric Broadley would be quite pleased, I would think, Tony, the designer of this car.
I imagine so.
Especially over a punishing track like this.
Well, it's ironic that they tried to persuade Stewart Stewart didn't want to drive last night, and he was persuaded to do so. Through the keyhole.
I'd like to also momentarily pay tribute to the flagmen and all the communications people out in this track for the job they've done. They've got to stand out there all day and direct traffic.
Yeah, and that signal we put up, Jeff, to show one more lap to go, we're getting a bit excited, our technicians are, because there is one more lap to go after this one. Let's get it right. There is one more lap to go after Jackie Stewart passes the start-finish line of this time. So.
But without these people who are volunteer, Tony, the communications, fire patrol, and so forth, you just couldn't put on a race, so we'd like to pay tribute to those who are all members of the Sports Car Club of America here at Mid-Ohio. Come in from all parts of the country to take part in this race and make it a success.
And whilst Jackie Stewart comes round again, I'll say it once more, to the start of his last lap, we've noticed a change on our lap chart. Up into third place has gone number 48, Herbert Muller, ahead of 54, Tony Adamovitz in the Jeremy McLaren. There is Jackie Stewart. He gets the green once again. Completion of 79 laps. Now one lap to go. Let's flash it up there. One lap to go. One lap to go.
That's a new phrase I haven't heard, Tony. Let's flush it up.
Jackie Stewart now on his last lap, and we really do mean it this time, on his last lap. In first position, Jackie Stewart. Second, number 20, Joe Sifford. Third, number 48, Herbert Muller. And then fourth is number 54, Tony Adamovitz. Fifth place, number 9, Chuck Parsons. Sixth, number 0, Milt Minter. Next man up is number 41, Jim Butcher. And number 66, Stanley Zarkowitz. Then number 81, Dick Durant. And number 79, Tom Dutton. Jackie Stewart, on his last lap, coming round for the checkered flag. And his second win for the Lola T260. What an unexpected win. Only time that McLarens have known defeat since Road Atlanta 2 years ago, when Tony Dean won in his Porsche.
Well, it's good for the series, Tony.
Jackie Stewart now coming round there. We're already seeing the winner. The checker is ready for Jackie Stewart. Here he comes across the start-finish line. And there it is. No hand raised.
We'll be back with the winner and, of course, an interview as Can-Am 71 continues in a moment after this word.
Before you spend your money on something that only looks like a sports car, go to your Triumph dealer and find out how little it costs to own a national road racing champion. A Triumph Spitfire.
And we're back live with Jackie Stewart on the slowing down lap. And let's go over to Alan Sloan in the pits, where we hope he's going to be successful in getting hold of Jackie Stewart.
Yes, we're waiting for Jackie Stewart right now in the pits. A truly unexpected win, and we're quite anxious to get some of the comments that he might have on this race. Not only regarding the course itself, but the difficulties that were encountered by Peter Revson. As soon as we can get Jackie Stewart into the pits here, we're going to get his comments on this controversial Scotsman. He's now coming through the carousel turn, and we're standing by, and we're going to be very anxious to see what Jackie has to say. I think maybe we'll ask him why he was letting Peter win. Here he comes up pit lane now, and the car's coming in, and here comes the winner of the Mid-America Can-Am. We've got to bring him on up this way, ladies and gentlemen. Bring Jackie on up here so that we can get a chance to talk with him. Getting the STP Porsche Audi out of the way. Jackie Stewart is making his way into the pits much more slowly than he was at the time he was coming in as a winner. Jackie Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Jackie, you didn't want to come today. What is your comment now?
Well, it's the same as I had before. Winning doesn't make any difference, but I'm very pleased the car went so well, particularly for the mechanics who worked all night. They've, completely all night to make it ready and to make it strong enough for this track. L&M, of course, Goodyear, all the people who helped us put the car together, to Carl Haas, the team manager, and I say particularly again to the boys. I think a wonderful thing for them.
Jackie, you had some rather uncomplimentary comments about the track before the start of this race. Do you still feel the same way?
Yes, I don't change my mind because of a win. Exactly the same as I felt before. I'd like to say I'm sorry that Denny Hulme had this problem in the first lap, and of course my condolences to Peter Revson.
Absolutely. Would you comment on the heat? Was that a factor? I know you're thirsty, but what about the heat here today?
It's very warm indeed, extremely warm. I'm really quite tired.
What about the car for next week?
Well, I think it's a very good car. I think the Lola, the L&M Lola, is a very competitive car in every way, and we look forward to Elkhart Lake.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Now back to Tony in the tower.
So Jackie Stewart, Joe Sifford, Tony Adamovitz, Herbert Muller, Parsons, Minter, Dutton, Butcher, and Zarkowitz. That's the order here.
Zarkowitz did very well his first time. Oh, my. Here we go. Jackie's very calm about the whole thing, isn't he?
And from Mid-Ohio, live Can-Am from Mid-Ohio, we'll be back again from Elkhart Lake.
This is Jeff Scott, along with Tony Moy and Alan Sloan, saying goodbye for now from the Can-Am Road Racing Course in Mid-Ohio. Your executive producer has been Bill Pryor. Produced by the Sedaris Company. Directed by William Bennington. In charge of production, Arnold Silverman. Technical Director, Jerry Patton. Technical Supervisor, J. Patrick Hubbard. This has been an Aratunoff Enterprises production.